One day, we were looking at a dead bird on the side of a road that had been run over. And Asaka said, to use your question, what do you see? The symbol of death, Master Osaka. So why do people suffer so much over death, Pizza? I knew this was an important question, and I didn't want to waste it with my silly, early developing mind. So I threw it back at Osaka, hoping I would get the wisdom all students seek. I did not know the true answer, Master. Maybe you can enlighten me. Osaka smiled, touched my shoulder, and spoke. You are learning, my pizza. What wisdom there is in an empty cup. With that, he closed the lesson and never gave me the answer. Well, at least not on that day. A long time later, he came back to the question. We were back at the stream, and the lesson of the flowing of water had gone by. He talked of another lesson, and he told me a story of an old man who was on a long journey. He came to a river, and he said to himself, this side of the river is very difficult and dangerous to walk on. Yet the other side seems easier and safer. I once asked Master Osaka, after having a good night out, how we could balance the pleasures of life with the pleasures of the flesh. So the first one was the extreme of indulgence in the desires of the body. Notice the way he used the word extreme. Yes, if you drink too much, your mind will not work, but sometimes there is great pleasure. We had spent a pleasant evening together, listening to music, as he knew I was a musician, and in that art form that we were listening to, of course we both experienced pleasure. That is good. One day I was writing, and my master approached. He said, "What are you writing, Pizza?" And I said, "I'm trying to write something new, something that will make a difference to the way." And with this he laughed out aloud. Once in a training session with Osaka, he said, "I want you to reach out during the next bout and strike me hard to the head." I bowed politely to Osaka and said, "This is impossible. I cannot do this." And Osaka said to me, "In the next bout, I want you to reach out and strike me to the head as hard as you can at any time you wish." He said, "Remember the concept of duality." So we started to fight. And when I thought the time was right, I lunged, trying to strike his head as hard as I could. He avoided my strike and hit me harder than I've ever been hit in my life. And I fell to the floor. And stood up. And blood was pouring from my mouth. So I immediately continued to fight, as tradition demands. And after a short time, he stopped the bout. "Pete-san, you are good enough to strike me. You could not strike me because you call me master. That is the way." I was confused with this when he told me this koan. And he showed me a physical manifestation of the magic of the physical world. He asked me to put my palm against his. And he told me not to move my palm. Not to push, twist, pull, or do anything. Just keep my palm still. And as his palm touched mine, a strange tingling sensation took place. And the room became very peaceful, very calm. And he said to me, "With your other hand, apply an Aikido hold to my hand, which is touching your hand." And I saw magic in the physical world. For as I tried to apply a hold to his hand, I found I couldn't. He was not tense, he was relaxed. But I could not apply an Aikido hold. I was amazed. I was a very highly qualified Aikido expert, and I could not do a simple wrist lock on this man. When I asked him what was the secret, he gave me the line, "You cannot hurt what is you." I did not understand. I was not supposed to understand. And I'm now going to quote something that Osaka said to me in the form of a koan. Master Osaka was a military man of youth and a sword master of old age, and he once wrote a koan to do with that. As a young man, I killed people as a soldier. As an older man, I became more lethal, yet chose to give life instead. What a great koan. in their 30s, Master Saka was a soldier. He was in China, and of course his life as a soldier must have embraced the Second World War. And he admitted to me that he had killed men, but as a soldier. Yeah, the great line was he killed men as a young man. And as he grew older, as he became a master, he was more lethal. I once asked him to explain that to me. I said, how can you explain in your wonderful way of how you mean that? And he explained it so beautiful to me. He said, when I was a young man, I needed a gun to kill somebody. I needed a knife. As an old man, I just needed my hands. Yet he chose to give life instead. I said to him, how do you balance being a soldier, having taken life, to being Zenish? For you must have been Zenish at that time. You weren't that young. And he's told me, my leaders, the people that ruled the land, had embraced greed and all the elements. They'd embraced the world's passions. They repeated sin after sin, and they carried the burden of intolerable acts. But also one lives in the society one lives in. As a young man, when ordered to go to war, you had to go to war, or you and your family suffered. Always remember that men in power are usually corrupt, and they are the opposite thing to Zen, or else they would have picked a different vocation, for a Zenish man cannot be corrupt. He cannot pollute the spirit. He cannot defile the mind. Our country leaders have to embrace that, if not consciously, subconsciously.